by Leadership Books. In just a moment, our host, Joseph Baker, will be joining us, along with a very special guest. Before we get started, I would like to introduce you to Joseph. He's a podcaster, event producer, writer, speaker, and audience builder. His passion is to help authors, speakers, and entrepreneurs build their audiences to monetize their leadership. Won't you please welcome our host, Joseph Baker.
Well, welcome everyone to a very special episode of the Compendium Podcast hosted by Leadership Books. Today, our guest is Echo Laymon Pelster. Echo is an author. She's a dynamic keynote speaker, a certified Canfield Method Transformational Trainer and coach. And today she brings value with education and inspiration to corporate and medical organizations in support of the procedures and practices, helping break through weight loss barriers and self-imposed limitations and inspiring self-care, self-confidence, and health awareness in every culture. With over 41 years in direct sales, including financial services since 2012 with Thrivent, Principal, and New York Life. Echo lives in the heart of the Sandhills of Nebraska with her husband, LaVern, of 25 years, and their dog, Cash. When she's not on the road, she enjoys riding and walking the dog. Echo, welcome to the Compendium Podcast.
Thank you. I'm so glad to be here. Thanks for asking. I'm always excited to meet more people in the world.
Absolutely.
So you already made my day.
Yes, and we had a chance to chat even before we hit record, and found out you live in a bit of a small town, which you enjoy, and then you also have access to, the internet and airports and travel. So you really have access to the entire world, but you get to experience that small town life. What is that like for you?
I love it. I love travel. I love meeting people and going to other cultures and just understanding why people believe what they believe and where they came from.
That's good.
I'm fascinated.
That's good. Yes, there's so much to learn, and there's never you can never stop learning in this life.
Never.
So let's jump into a little bit about your book. You have this book that is titled The Twisted Love of Food Addiction, Releasing Your Pounds of Pain. What would you say is the sort of big idea, or what problem were you addressing when you wrote this book?
Well, over my lifetime, I had discovered when I wrote this book that I had actually lost something like 770 pounds on the books.
Wow.
And I had been in a yo-yo dieting. I'd had 2 gastric bypass procedures, but I still put that weight back on. And I knew that gastric bypass definitely saved my life. I had congestive heart failure and pulmonary hypertension at age 37, but it didn't solve my problems. It didn't solve what was driving me and that need to feed. And I had tried conventional counseling, and I found that really kept me in the story more than it kept me in the solution. And so I started reading books on the subjects and the topics, and I came up with a program not only to help myself and bring my weight from a size 32 to a size 12, but to help others do the same thing.
Wow, that is very cool. And tell us a little bit about perhaps an aha moment that you had when you were writing this book, maybe something that even surprised you.
Oh, I had several. I would be writing and something from my memory would come up, and I thought, oh, should I put that in print? And my aha truly was to allow myself to be vulnerable in this book and to allow myself to be totally exposed as though I was naked, not for the purpose of shock value, but for the purpose of other people knowing that they're not alone. That we all think things and do things that maybe we're not proud of, or someone else judged us for, that we hold shame for, that we don't need to do that. And so this was about allowing other people to realize they're not alone in how they feel, think, or have shame moments from the past, and that they don't have to have them. Shame is, I'm not enough. Well, yes, I am. And just because something happened in my past, I'm not defined by that in any way, shape, or form.
That's good. Tell us a little bit of a testimonial or a story, or what have you heard, basically, is what I'm asking. What have you heard from people who have picked up your book and it's impacted them? What's the common thread that you see?
Oh, it's been really amazing. A friend of mine got it. She got it on Kindle. She said, "Oh my gosh, I could not put it down." And I said, "Could you not put it down because of the shocking stories that I allowed myself to tell? Or could you not put it down because you're learning something?" And she said, "I learned a lot about you that I didn't really know, but I came out with this huge respect for you because I realized what you've overcome." And just the fact that she said there's so many questions in there that you asked me to ask of myself, and I just grew through the process. And that's what I wanted to accomplish. I wanted other people to be able to get over their own hurts, habits, and hangups, and heal and grow and move forward.
That's really good. There's something very powerful about being vulnerable and just opening yourself up. And most of the time, when you do become vulnerable, people actually don't judge you. They're actually uh, quite happy to hear your stories and how it can relate to them and their struggles and their challenges as well. Has that been your experience as well? People have actually been very open to embracing your vulnerability.
Very much so. I have been telling my story for many years at organizations, clubs, conferences. And for years, people have walked up behind me and said, "Do you have a book? I'd love to know the rest of the story." And I didn't have a book. And so I had promised myself that I would write this book and give people the rest of the story that could not see me or communicate with me in person or be involved in my programs. I have never regretted being open and telling the truth. And I've never had anyone say, "Oh my God, I can't believe you did that." What I've really had people say is, "I have so much respect for you because you have the courage to tell what happened, what it felt like for you, and how it is now."
That is so good. Let's go a little bit deeper into this idea of you having that book, right? Once you had it, what opportunities did you sort of sense that started to open up for you?
Oh, I have so many opportunities in front of me right now. I did a podcast with Roar last week, one with you this week. I'm on my way to Las Vegas to speak at an event this next few days, and on the way I'm going to be doing some book signings in Cheyenne and Salt Lake City, and then I'm going on to Tucson from there, where I will visit some bookstores there. So it's a very exciting time, and the people that come that are so curious about finding the wellness of losing the weight once and for all and being spiritually connected in a way that they can live their values on their terms, they're very interested.
Wow, that's very powerful. How about for your sort of coaching and consulting side of things? Have you found that having a book has brought you more exposure in that realm?
It has. We've done a couple things since the book came out. The twisted love of food addiction is also obviously my story, what happened and how crazy and unmanageable my life became as a result of food addiction. Because how you do one thing is how you do everything, and it spills over into a lot of areas of your life. I've opened a new support group that's actually free, that's on Tuesday mornings at 7 a.m. And we call that Untwisted.
Mm,
And that's where people come and meet us and just get an idea of some of the practices we do for wellness. It's an introduction to us.
that is really good. That is really good. Tell us about something, maybe a story that didn't make it into the book. What's something that you look back now and think, "Oh, I should have told that story"?
There was probably about three of them, but one of my favorite stories was when we were little girls, we had Barbies. And Barbie was who we were supposed to be, and she had these little hands that were like this big. And we were supposed to be this big around. And I grew up thinking, "Oh, I just want to be like Barbie." And the truth of the matter was, there was no way I could ever be in those dimensions. I came from, good, strong Swedish, German, Swedish women with English backgrounds. We're a little staunch. We might be built a little bit more like queens, but we were never going to be built like Barbies. And I remember thinking that someone had told me in Sunday school that I could be anyone I wanted to be. And I remember getting really angry because I could not be Barbie with this teacher. I said, well, then I want to be Barbie. And she said, but you can't be Barbie. And I said, but you just told me I could be anyone I wanted to be. And it really helped me realize how off focus we can get by not focusing and appreciating who we are. And that was one thing I wasn't taught. I wasn't taught gratitude for who I was right then and there as a person, as a child. And coming from divorced parents, the values were separated so many times. But when I bring it back and I realize I am a Barbie, I am my own Barbie, and I have created her. And I sat down and I listened and I looked inside her, and here I am.
Very powerful. Very powerful. It sounds like while you're teaching in this book quite a bit, you're sharing a lot of stories, you're teaching principles. Really what you're doing is you're inspiring people, if I could sort of narrow it down from what I'm hearing. Is that true?
I'm inspiring them, and I'm allowing them to look inside and become who they were born to be created to be. That's one thing that I think we lose sight of in our careers. Or maybe, I wanted to be an artist and a singer as a kid. That's what I wanted to do. I love to sing. And everyone said, you can't make a living doing that. You can't make a living writing books. You can't do this. Well, yes, you can. Yes, you can. And so I went and did a career, for many, many years of what other people conditioned me and thought I should do, what my education should be. And I went out there and did it wholeheartedly, and I did a good job because that's who I am. My brand is excellence. But there was a part of me that was always calling. And I listened to her from time to time. The first time I gave her gastric bypass, she lost 60 pounds. She felt a little better about herself, but things went back to the way they were, and she gained clear up to 357 pounds. So I got to that stage and I heard her again. And what did I do? I did the craziest thing. I had another gastric bypass. This time I lost 203 pounds, made the local paper, was a celebrity, and life started to happen. I had a sister who committed suicide, and I literally gained like 114 pounds in about 14 months. That's how I dealt with that. And she was the fourth sibling that I had lost in a serious tragic event. And what I really knew from that was there wasn't an easier, softer way. I had to get to the core of the problem, and I had to go and look at it differently. And I had to realize that there had to be something greater out there that could do this for me, because I knew I couldn't do it for myself. And I help people find that spiritual wisdom and spiritual freedom today.
So for those who are watching and listening, and they would like to reach out to you and learn more about you, where would they do that?
Well, you can go to echopelsterspeaks.com. And on my website, fill out a contact form. Just go to contact and fill out the form, and I will reach out to you. Or they can email me at echopelster@echopelsterspeaks.com, and I will reach back out to them.
That's great. And I assume your book is available on your website as well?
It is. The book is available on my website and I believe on yours.
Yes, leadershipbooks.com. Absolutely.
I am excited about working with you. Very, very beautiful. Thank you.
Yes, we're excited as well. That's really good. Well, we've covered quite a bit. We've gotten to know you. We've learned about your book. We've learned about your message. If you had to leave us, though, with one parting piece of wisdom, like let's even imagine that somebody tuned in right now and they really only heard the end of this podcast, even, what would you like to say to our listening and our viewing audience today?
I would say that if you're ready to gain some emotional mastery and have control over how you feel and when you feel it, overcome grief, live a life of peace, abundance with spiritual wisdom and freedom, and live your life on your terms with your values, then you're ready to read my book and maybe even possibly work with me personally.
That was really good. Very, very great parting words. Thank you so much, Echo, for joining us for this very special episode of the Compendium Podcast, hosted by Leadership Books. Again, you can check out Echo's website. I believe it was echopelsterspeaks.com. And
Correct.
also you can find her book at leadershipbooks.com. Be sure to reach out to her. Sounds like she is an accessible leader. She's somebody that you can actually work with and relate with and reach out for her resources. So please be sure to do that. For all of those who are watching and listening today, thank you for tuning into this episode, and we will catch you in the next one.
Thank you so much for having me. I had a great time, Joe.
Thank you for joining us for today's broadcast. I do hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. And be sure to visit us online at leadershipbooks.store. There you'll find the works of some of the finest thought leaders today. And be sure to tune in here each week to gain even deeper insights from one of those leaders on the Compendium Podcast.